Hello. Let you all reconnect, and you can tell me if it's still having the issue. I'll run the same la 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 test. Not quite the show I had in mind. Test 1, 2. I've changed the, is it better? Changed the transcoders completely. So, all I did was change the audio to mono. And this is for the stream only, not for the local recording. For the stream on YouTube, I changed the audio to mono. And I changed the frame size. So now we're like 360p, somewhere around there for live. Let's just see that that's working. Somewhere around there for live. Let's just see that that's working. Great. Okay, so the video quality is not quite as nice, but the audio quality is better, so that's good. All right, shall we do a show? This is going to be like... I thought I was going to be out of here in good timing tonight. That way I can get home in this weather. Anybody watching on Facebook? Is Facebook back up? Did you guys get the notifications on YouTube? Is everything working? Let's double check. I'm just going to check on Bookface, make sure all is good. Da, 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 da. Sorry, folks, but thank you. Thank you for helping me through that. Yeah, I better get home by the morning. I got things to do. Places to be. Yeah, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. Looks like I'm going to get one, too. So that's nice. All right. I'm going to push record on all my things. Okay. And I have to white balance again, too, folks. Basically starting over. Starting from scratch. At half past the hour. Yay! For patrons who are watching this afterwards, we are starting over because we've had all kinds of technical difficulties on YouTube. I pushed all the buttons. Oh no, and I left one of the camera screens turned around. I'll be back. There we go. Now I can see. That's not right. Okay. Bo, you really want to get into broadcasting? Imagine doing this from a bus. Yeah, you're going to have video artifacts, my friend. I had to turn down the bandwidth significantly on YouTube because it didn't want to play nice. All right, you guys want to see my beautiful intro again? Here we go! Welcome to Category 5 Technology TV. It's just me, Robbie, here this week because, hey, I've told Sasha and Jeff to stay home. We are under a severe winter storm here in Ontario, Canada. That guy who just drove by is really brave because they're telling us to stay off the roads. But I'm here this week, so we're going to do a show just kind of like old school style. It's just you and me. Tonight we're going to be looking at that NAS unit that I've been putting together, and we're going to see if we can actually create a little bit of a NAS system from an Odroid XU4. It's kind of cool because we're going to be able to save a lot of money, not just on the equipment itself, but also on the electricity moving forward. Stick around. Our live recordings are trusted only to solid-state drives by Kingston Technology. Revive your computer with improved performance and reliability over traditional hard drives with Kingston SSDs. Category 5 TV streams live with Telestream Wirecast and Nimble Streamer. Tune in every week on Roku, Kodi, and other HLS video players. For local show times, visit category5.tv. Welcome to the show, everybody. It is brutal outside in central Ontario, and I got into the studio just before the storm really hit. But it is going to be a white Christmas, I believe, here in Barrie, Ontario. Now, our studio is located about an hour north of Toronto, and we have been dreaming of a white Christmas, and it looks like we've got our wish. It's so great to have everybody here. Thank you for being here. Before we get into the show, I want to remind you to subscribe to us on YouTube. And hey, click that bell. That's going to make sure that you get our notifications anytime that we're live or when we post new videos. Oh, the audio is not working again. Well, I don't know what it is then. Feel like I almost just need to record a local show. Seems it's got to be a YouTube thing. There's only one other thing I can do. Yeah, I know. Albuquerque Turkey. Love you, man. Well, there's no... Yeah, it's just a... I've got two shots set up. Yeah. Thanks, Sasha. Okay, so if I jump to that and then back to that, audio still... Yeah, the master recordings are just fine. Everything is... It's all you. And Marshman, you're going to have the same resolution issue because I tuned it down. Now it's fine? What are you What the? Could it be the encoder? The encoder. You gotta be kidding. So if I go like that, does it skippity-doopy-doopy-doo? It's always possible that there's been a new bug introduced. Still fine. Let's just do a show then. You guys want me to just do it? No what? Yup, good. I got a no and a yup, good. Should we do it, or do you want me... I mean, Marshman wants me to turn back up the quality, doesn't he? Last chance for me to make any changes. Okay, let's do this. If Marshman says keep rolling, I'm going to keep rolling. Our live recordings are trusted only to Our live recordings are trusted only to solid-state drives by Kingston Technology. Revive your computer with improved performance and reliability over traditional hard drives with Kingston SSDs. Category 5 TV streams live with Telestream Wirecast and Nimble Streamer. Tune in every week on Roku, Kodi, and other HLS video players. For local show times, visit category5.tv. Welcome to the show, everybody. It is brutal outside here in central Ontario. I arrived here at the studio just before the storm really hit, and it is looking like it's going to be a white Christmas here in Ontario. And now, our studio is in Barrie, and we're about an hour north of Toronto. And I've given everybody the week off. And it just happens to be me because I got here just before the announcement was made. And I can't really send myself home, so here I am. Folks, we're going to have a great show. Before I get into it, though, I want to remind you to subscribe to us on YouTube and click the bell. That's going to make sure that you receive notifications anytime that we're live or anytime that we have new videos that we post on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to us. Another thing about that is that it lets us know that you appreciate what we do here at Category 5 TV. As the subscriber numbers increase, that is a great encouragement to us. And another way that you can support us and show us that you love us is by becoming a patron. So head on over to patreon.com/category5. That's a really cool way to support us by just throwing a little bit in the tip jar, and that gives you exclusive access to behind-the-scenes video, our vlog as well, and you also gain access to the live recordings each and every week. So what we take from the live show, we edit out all the bloopers and the behind-the-scenes and everything else before we post it publicly live. But by that point, we've already posted the live feed to the patrons. And as you know, anything that gets posted on the internet is there forever. There's no going back. So our patrons gain access to that indefinitely. So make sure that you if you want to support us, that's a great way to do it. Patreon.com/category5. Over the past couple of weeks, I and the team have been speaking about what we're going to call my NAS. Your NAS, my NAS, but cat5.tv/my NAS is where I'm going to put all the links for the products that we're going to be looking at. The discussion has been surrounding the decision, okay, well, do we go with USB 3.0 so that we can also gain the eSATA port, which is going to give us up to 6 gigabits per second, or do we go straight to USB 3.1 Rev 2, which theoretically can give us up to 10 gigabits per second. However, the one caveat about that is that the device that we're going to be connecting it to, which is an Odroid XU4 single board computer, is only capable of USB 3.0 with UASP. So that's going to be 5 gigabits per second. That's a lot of numbers to be thrown out at you. It's a lot of numbers for old Robbie to remember in this bald head of his, but it all makes sense to me. The decision was made, though, to go future ready and go with USB 3.1 Rev 2. So we're going to be able to access our NAS unit at 5 gigabits per second from the Odroid XU4. But keep in mind, our connectivity to our NAS is going to be based on gigabit Ethernet anyways, because the Ethernet port on that board is 1,000 megabits per second or whatever. So even though I can communicate with the drives at 5 gigabits a second, the communication then to the XU4 is only going to be 1 gigabit a second. So the theoretical result of that is that the communication between the brains of our NAS is still going to be 5 times as fast as our actual throughput to and from that NAS unit itself. So I've got this device at cat5.tv/my NAS, and let's get a quick look at it. Now I've put 2 drives in here, obviously not very stably. We'll work on that in just a second. This guy just fell right out. That's okay. Okay, so I've got 2 4-terabyte drives that I've just simply plugged into the backplane because I was just kind of playing around with this just before the show to see how it operated. Well, I didn't even really turn it on. I just wanted to see that I could plug these drives in and see how they connect. So I have 2 4-terabyte drives from my old backup unit, and the idea behind this is I'm going to be able to use this device as basically just multiple drives connected to my computer. So this is a NAS not a NAS enclosure. This is a hard drive enclosure. There's a big difference when you're shopping around for these kinds of things, so keep this in mind. What I opted for is not a NAS unit. That's not what we want. We want a device that gives me access to these drives as external hard drives. So this has 4 SATA backplanes. The backplane will take up to 4 SATA drives. And with that, I'm going to see 4 new hard drives, just like as if I plugged in a USB external hard drive on my computer. That's the theory behind it. So there's no RAID happening here. There's no mirroring. There's nothing. It's just 4 drives connected to my Linux machine, the XU4. So then using the amazing software that comes with Linux, I'm going to be able to, because Linux is like the server OS, right? We're going to learn this week, and we've learned from the top 500 that like Linux is where it's at for servers. So because they're going to be showing up as 4 individual SATA external hard drives, I can do whatever I want with them. So we're going to play around with mirroring, creating arrays. We're going to be checking out all the various things that we can do. But this device will take up to 4 drives. So we can decide how we want to segment the data across those 4 drives. I've just got 2 drives for the sake of the demonstration today. And this is what it looks like. So there we have it. And it's just simply a very basic SATA backplane that gives me access to these drives. So as far as the mounting goes, there's no drive trays or anything like that. There are these little plastic guys that are going to go on the front of the drive, which just gives it a little bit more pressure to push it into the backplane. So these just go in like this. Drive number 1. And that squeezes right into the backplane. Drive number 2. Both 4 terabytes, just because these are pulls from my my old backup. Let's see here. You can see that better than I can. And there we go. Straight in there. And then this guy here is just going to go right on top. And clip in like so. I think I've almost got that. It clips in anyways. And then you close the door and you're good to go. So should we fire it up and just kind of see how this is going to show up on our computer? I've got my laptop here, and what I'm going to do is let's zoom in first of all and do a ls/dev/sd star. I just want to see what's there. So I only have 1 hard drive in my laptop, and that is my SDA. Let's also bring up, going to zoom out here a little bit, and I'm going to bring up gparted, just so that we can get a look at what this is going to look like as far as hard drives go. So there is my SDA, and that's the only hard drive available in my computer. So to power it on, there's just a power button here. And what I have is I've got USB 3.1, a USB-C to a USB standard A cable to plug into my laptop, and that is the same cable I'm going to use to connect it into my XU4. Now I just heard a ding on my laptop, so let's see what's going on here. So in gparted, what do we see? I'm going to go gparted, refresh devices over here. Now I have 2 3.64 terabyte drives is what it's showing, both unallocated space. That's good news. All right, over here, let's zoom in a little bit, and let's run that same command. And now we see we have SDB, SDC, SDD, and SDE. Now, I imagine, we're seeing SDD and SDE, so understand these are drive allocations as far as how Linux segments the devices. So we've got SDA as my actual internal hard drive on my laptop. SDB is presumably the first slot in this, if they are sequential. SDC would be the second, SDD would be the third, and SDE would be the fourth. If I'm right, then we're going to find that we're able to, we can confirm that, again, by going into gparted. That's a quick way to confirm it anyways. Well, if I knew my password and entered it correctly. Yes, SDB and SDC. So SDB is going to be my first drive in the chassis. SDC is going to be my second. So what am I going to do? Well, first of all, I want to format these XFS, so I'm going to need a couple of tools. So sudo su, and log in as super user. And I'm going to go apt update. Move this over a little bit for you folks at home. Do I want to accept these changes? Why, yes. Yes, I do. All right. Apt install XFS tools, I believe, is the package. Might have a hyphen in there. Unable to find. Let's do a quick cache search. So, dpkg. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? Can we use Google? Is that acceptable? I thought it was XFS tools. If anyone in Discord knows the answer to that, XFS tools. Let's see. XFS tool. I'm going to do package Debian. How's that? XFS, Debian packages. libguess, no. And there are a couple of reasons that I want to go with XFS versus some of the competing file systems. What would the options be? So, the foo wants me to do apt search. XFS progs? Do you think that's it? XFS progs, a set of commands to use the XFS file system. Yes, includes makefs XFS. So where I said XFS tools, it is in fact XFS progs. Okay, let's take it from there. Apt install XFS progs. Look at that. I've already got it. Okay, so what file system would you consider for your NAS? You might think ext4. You might even think, like, maybe ButterFS. Now, there's a couple of things that that I would consider when I'm creating this array. First of all, XFS is a modern file system that has a virtually limitless number of files that I can have on my NAS, so on my file system. So it's unbelievable. Like, it's like to the power of. We can't even count that high. It allows massive capacity drives, and it's a modern journaling file system. Now, ButterFS, it's a great file system. I love ButterFS. However, I still feel like there is some concern, some worry about ButterFS with unexpected power loss. And sometimes that can happen. We've had power outages here in our local community where the power has been out so long that the UPS finally gives up. And if that happens, I don't want to have data loss or parity issues. So XFS is able to maintain its file system much more adequately because ButterFS has an issue where it can actually lose parity data if the power goes out. So that's something that I want to avoid in my array, because if I ever lost any parity data in my array, then if a drive failed, then I would have problems rebuilding my data, and I could potentially have some data loss. That's exactly what I want to avoid. So now that I have XFS progs installed, which gives me makefs, now let's partition our drive. So, and notice I'm doing this in the terminal, folks. I want to do this in the terminal so that you can see how it's actually done. We could use the GUI, but I want you to be able to do this in the terminal. So fdisk, we know that it's going to be dev/sdb. That's my first one, okay? So if I do a P, I can see that this is a 4 terabyte drive. See there, 3.7 terabytes. And then it's like 4 point blah, blah, blah bytes. It's all like rounded to 1024. So we're going to create a new partition. Now, if you need help, just push M and enter, because M stands for what? Help. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. But you see, of course, the first command that we're going to need is N for a new partition. So press N, enter. Partition number, I'm just going to hit enter, and then first sector, enter, and then last sector, enter, because I want to use the whole drive. Do you want to remove the signature? And what's that asking me? Hey, this drive already has a file system on it, and it is a encrypted CryptoLux signature, probably created with LuxDump, as you are already aware, because that's my old backup. Remember I mentioned that, but I know that I have now got a new backup. So this one is redundant and not needed, and redundant to the point where it can be destroyed and I'm not losing anything. So do I want to remove that signature? Yeah. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to write it out with W, and I'm done. So now if I do an fdisk-l/dev/sdb, I should see that I now have SDB1, which is my first partition on SDB, the first drive in my chassis, and it is a full 3.7 terabyte, and it's set up for a Linux file system. Now I can't mount it yet because there is no file system, so make fs, so mkfs.xfs, because we chose the XFS file system. You could also do ext4, right? But we're going to do XFS, and I'm going to go dev sdb1. Now, one of the things that's really, really nice about XFS is the speed at which it formats the drive. This is a 4 terabyte drive, and I would say it's probably going to be able to format that drive like in a tenth of the time that it would take for ext4 or something similar. So far, I have one drive that is formatting XFS. I've partitioned it. It has a full 4 terabyte partition, we'll say 3.7 terabytes, and I'm formatting it with XFS using the Linux terminal. So this could be my, and part of why I want to show you this in the terminal is because this could be my XU4, which I could be SSH'd into, and this could be connected to the external USB. That's already finished formatting, 4 terabytes. Can you believe that? Done. So now I could actually mount that. So if I created a mount point, so let's go /mnt, let's make a mount point, make dir in mnt. I'm going to call this, I'll just call it SDB1 just for fun, because it's easy to understand what that means. And I think when I was learning Linux as a rookie Linux user, I think mount points were something that really confused me. And so if you've never worked with mount points before in the terminal, or you're not sure how this works, feel free to ask questions, but I'll do my best to explain it. Linux works a lot different than, say, Windows. Windows uses, like, when you plug in a drive, it's like your C drive, it's your D drive, it's your E drive, and so on. Now, Linux, you can plug in 10 drives, and none of them have a drive letter. They can just be, like, one of them can be your boot, and one of them can be your root, and one of them can be your home folders, one of them can be your backup, and they're all connected through the file system structure. So in this case, I'm going to be putting that one drive on /mnt/sdb1, because I created a mount point, aka a folder, at that point. But where it can get confusing is when I first started learning this stuff, like we're talking like 10 years ago, I would go into SDB1 now that I've created this folder, and I might put some files there, but then I wouldn't even realize that the drive is not currently mounted. So any files that I put there are in fact going on my SDA, right? The built-in hard drive on my laptop, because I have not yet connected this drive to that mount point. So the way that I'm going to do that, and there are ways to permanently do that, but to temporarily do that, just to test, I'm going to go mount /dev/sdb1, because we know that that's our first partition on that drive, which we formatted XFS, and then I'm going to mount that to /mnt/sdb1. So what I'm telling it is mount this partition, SDB1 in dev, to this mount point, aka folder, SDB1. Hit enter. Now, if I go into SDB1, it looks exactly the same. However, anything I do here is actually going on the external hard drive. So now if I go back one folder and I unmount that, which is the command is actually umount SDB1. Now if I go back into SDB1 and do an ls, look, it's empty. Well, where'd my files go? Because right now I'm actually looking at SDA, because it's not mounted. Go back again and type my mount command. Go back in. Now I am, in fact, looking at the external hard drive. So that test file that I created is on the very first drive in this NAS chassis, in our chassis, our external chassis, right there. And if it's not mounted, I won't be able to access those files. So there's one other thing that I can do which is very, very helpful, because what can happen, let's unmount that, SDB1. So now it's not mounted, okay? SDB1. If I look, now what can happen is I'm going to touch test2. Okay, so now there's a file called test2. Now if I go back and I run my mount command, watch what can happen. Do you notice? Okay, so test2 is there, right? Now go into SDB1 and do an ls, and it's test. Well, where the heck did test2 go? I've lost my file. No, I haven't, because test2 was on SDA because it wasn't mounted. So now I get confused. This is where I was at when I was just a rookie Linux user. Because if it wasn't mounted, or if I forgot to mount my drive, or if I didn't mount it correctly, or I mounted it in the wrong place, I'd put files on the mount point unmounted, so they wouldn't end up on my external drive. So why does that matter? What if I ran a backup? What if I was backing up my SDA drive to my SDB1, but it wasn't mounted? I would actually be copying the files from my SDA to my SDA, the same hard drive. So then that hard drive crashes, my backup is useless. Absolutely useless. So how can I fix that? Well, if I unmount that drive, so you mount SDB1, because I'm in the mount folder, go back in there. I'm going to remove test2. And now go back, and now watch this. Chatter, CHATTR plus I, that means make it immutable. Make it so that it can't be written to. And then SDB1. Okay, so now if I go into SDB1 and I try again to touch test2, it says no such file or directory. What is it? Well, I know there's a file, a directory. Why can't I touch my file? Oh, I haven't mounted my directory yet. I haven't mounted my drive. So it's important to do that, because now I can't write anything to the mount point. So now it will only work. My backup will only function if the drive is in fact mounted. So let's jump back here. Now that it is immutable, I can't do anything here. I can't make a directory in here. It will say operation not permitted. Go up a folder, and now let's run our mount command again. So I'm pushing Control R to be able to go back in my history. And now if I notice, it mounted just fine. Now I'm going to go back into SDB1, and I'm going to, now you see my test file. Let's try touching test2. Touch. I can't type and talk. Test2. There we go. So now you notice that it did work because it is mounted. All right, so this is in fact the SDB1, the external hard drive now. And if you're not sure if it's mounted, watch this. Mount. It gives me a list of all the drives that are mounted. Well, that's a whole bunch of cruft. So mount pipe grep SDB1. That just gives me the one line that shows SDB1. So this shows me that dev SDB1 is mounted on /mnt/SDB1. Well, what happens if I unmount it and run that exact same command? No output, because it's not currently mounted. So I know I need to mount it. Do it again. There we go. Now run that command. So what is it doing? It's mount, which gives me an output of all of the mounted stuff, right? But then I'm grepping, which is basically the Linux equivalent of, hey, search that output for this, SDB1, and hit enter. And that could be anything. I could search for dev, and it will give me everything that contains the word dev. Well, no, I don't need that. I just want SDB1. And that gives me, and it's a little bit cluttered when I have it like that, but there you go. So you can see that I have dev SDB1 on mnt/SDB1, and the type is XFS. That's my file system, and it's ready to go. So I have my first drive ready to go in my NAS. Second drive is going to be exactly the same, except we know that it is my SDC. So I'm going to go through those same steps in order to create that. Now, because this is not a RAID unit, I can put in 4 terabyte drives. I got my 2 4 terabyte drives. I can also put in a 1 terabyte in addition to that. And I can put in a 500 gig. So I can use a mix of drives, and each one is going to show up as STB, SDC, SDE, D, and E. And then you're going to have access to each of them. Now, with a RAID, of course, if you had 2 4 terabytes, well, you could set those up as a RAID 1, but then if you had a 1 terabyte and a 500 gigabyte, you couldn't really connect those together and use them. What we're going to be doing over the course of this series is we're going to be demonstrating how we can actually use this unit, or a unit similar to this, in order to create arrays using Linux tools that will allow me to intermix drives, to be able to create redundancy. We're going to be creating all kinds of really cool stuff so that you can understand the underlying file system idiosyncrasies. And I think even tonight you may have learned a couple of things. Please comment below. Let me know what you did learn here, and if anything is of particular interest that I've spoke on tonight. And through the course of the series, we're going to be learning all kinds of things like that. The little trinkets behind the UI that we're used to. Like, we may install like an interface on our NAS unit, and all we ever see is the web interface. Well, we're going to be working under the hood so that we understand how it all works and keeping our data safe. So that's pretty cool. Hey, we've got to take a really quick break. I'll be right back. Stick around. Is that good? What questions do you have so far? What are you asking about SSHing? I know there's a bit of a delay, so I'll stand by for a moment. I'm open to quick questions. All right. Welcome back. This is Category 5 Technology TV. Now, our broadcast is live, even though you're watching this on demand. We do have some questions coming in our Discord chat. First question comes from Marshman asking, okay, how is my laptop that I'm demonstrating on connected to the NAS? Now, I mentioned it at the top of the show, but you may not have caught it. And I'm just going to power this off because I have unmounted it with the U-mount command. So I'm just going to hold in that power button to power off those drives so I can safely move it. There it goes. Remember that these are spinning drives. You don't want to move this while they're spinning because you can actually cause damage to the physical platters of the drive. There are needles, basically, we're going to call them. Think of an old record, right? Like a record player, LPs. You've got heads that hover on a very small cushion of air over top of very sensitive magnetic platters. So if I move this while it is powered on, those platters are moving at 7,200 rotations per minute. And so if I move it in such a way that the head touches the platter, scratch, data loss, possible hard drive failure. So I always power this off before I move it. How am I connecting it? I'm just unplugging the power here. This is the back of the unit. And all I have is a USB-C cable. Okay, so that's what it is on this end. Now on the laptop end, I'm just going to unplug that here. This is the other end of that same cable. So I've got USB-C and I've got USB-A. So this allows me to plug it into a laptop or any other USB 3.0 device. So that's my Odroid XU4. That's what we hope to achieve through the course of this project, is to actually power this from a single board computer. The reason that I've chosen the XU4 is because it supports UASP. That's USB attached SCSI protocol, which means it's going to be able to get 5 gigabits per second data transfer to the device. Unlike standard USB, it's going to be a lot faster. You're looking at a fair percentage more. So that's how I was connected. This was not an SSH connection or anything like that. This was a direct USB connection, exactly like it will be with our Odroid XU4. Reason I'm not looking at it on an Odroid XU4 tonight, and I'm actually doing this using my laptop, is strictly for the sake of the demonstration. This is a series of demonstrations and projects that are going to be leading to our MyNAS. So cat5.tv/MyNAS is where it's all going to come together. But the XU4 is going to be one of the steps in the process of creating this unit, but I wanted to show you the kind of underlying way that we're going to be setting things up, and I want you to learn how some of these little Linux commands work in the terminal as well, because everything's going to be done in the terminal. Any other questions for us? BP9, you're very welcome. The foo calling this DAS. Yes, right now in this instance, this is direct attached storage. The idea is that we're going to be taking this DAS unit and turning it into a pseudo NAS or backup system using an XU4. So the XU4 is going to become the brains of this, and then I'm going to be able to access it as network attached storage. So I'm not going to have to plug it into my laptop. No, I'm going to be able to access it through Wi-Fi, through Ethernet, and those kinds of things. Did I miss any other questions? Now, I'm watching the chat room on my phone, and so the screen is comparatively small, and things do tend to kind of fly by the screen. So if there are any other questions about the project or what I'm teaching here tonight, I'm wide open. Great to see everybody here, and appreciate you being here. I think that was really the main question. BP9, yeah, okay, so you get it now. Wondering how I was able to connect directly to the NAS unit, because it's not a NAS, and exactly like the foo says, it's direct attached storage in this instance. That's all going to be changing though. And if you're not familiar with an XU4, Odroid XU4, it is a microcomputer. So think of a Raspberry Pi as a very, very small computer. Fits in my pocket right here. I wish I had it with me, but there. Oh, I actually, if you can excuse me for one moment, I can grab one. I have one just off the set here. Here we go. So this is an Odroid XU4Q. And the Q stands for quiet because it has this massive heat sink. So this is the board that is going to power our NAS unit. So when this becomes a NAS, this is going to be the computer, the brains, that is going to power it. It's got Debian Linux, Debian 10 on here, on a micro SD right now. It's going to be on eMMC, and then we're going to be setting up some form of mounting in order to hide this in such a way that it's going to be part of the unit itself, and something that we can just put into a room in the, if you have a closet or something, that you can set that up and just run an Ethernet cable to this that has gigabit Ethernet, and that's going to give you full access to all the files and make your backups and everything else. So, all right, thanks for the questions, everybody. I welcome your questions. You can email live at category5.tv if you have any more. All right, we're going to jump right into it. If I had no other questions, yeah? Just watching the chat before, because I actually have to transition my phone into a teleprompter. So I see Noman 5 typing, so I'll just give you a second. Do I have to use x86 or ARM or x64? No, it doesn't matter. The file system is agnostic as far as the CPU architecture goes, as long as the drivers that you are using are going to support it, which they are in this case. Not going to have any problem there. Thanks, everybody. Okay, I'm going to transition over to our teleprompter so that I can jump into the news. Wish me luck, Sasha. Okay. Hi there. How you doing? Look at all those grays. Mm-hmm. There we go. What have I done? Okay. I can actually bring up chat on my laptop now that I can. Oh, I'm not logged in on my laptop. I haven't used it in so long. And I have two-factor auth, and my phone is a teleprompter. Oh, and it's downloading updates. All right, forget that. I would be there. My heart is in it. So let's jump right into it. Here are the stories that we're covering in the Category5.tv newsroom. For the first time, BBC News published a news story for every constituency that declared election results overnight, all written by a computer. A Russian police raid on Nginx's Moscow office last Thursday has raised concerns among users of the popular web and proxy server software. Linux has destroyed every competing OS in the supercomputer market, taking a 100% share of the top 500. And remember when the owner of cryptocurrency exchange Quadriga CX passed away, taking hundreds of millions in customer crypto to the grave with him? Well, now investors are beginning to wonder if he actually died or if he just took the money and ran. Stick around. The full details are coming up later in the show. Oh, good. I'm in. Yay! Hello. Okay. I'm Sasha Rickman. That's what it says on the teleprompter. I'm Robbie I can't even say my own name. I'm Robbie Ferguson, filling in this week for Sasha Rickman. Some quick honorable mentions. HP is fighting a very real environmental problem by building their laptops out of ocean-bound plastics. In September, HP introduced their Elite Dragonfly notebook, the world's lightest compact business convertible, and get this, the world's first notebook made with ocean-bound plastic. HP also announced its commitment to include ocean-bound plastic materials in all of its new HP Elite and Pro desktop and notebook computers launching in 2020. This move reflects HP's commitment to addressing the growing challenge of ocean plastics. To date, HP has sourced more than 1 million pounds of ocean-bound plastics. That's the equivalent of more than 35 million plastic bottles. They've been using it in their ink cartridges, HP Elite Display E273D monitors, and now the HP Elite Dragonfly. A new high-end Linux laptop has launched that is more powerful than a MacBook Pro. And it could even be more powerful than System 76's Oryx Pro. It's called the Kubuntu Focus and is a joint effort between the Kubuntu Council, Tuxedo Computers, and Mindshare Management. The target audience for the Kubuntu Focus is users who find the MacBook Pro too limiting in power and compatibility with Linux. But looking at the specs, it looks like a dreamy system for Linux power users, gamers, content creators, and developers as well. This isn't a laptop designed from the ground up, however. The Kubuntu Focus takes roughly the same approach as System 76 does by taking a stock Clevo unit and adapting it for Linux. This one is specifically tuned for battery life and an optimal NVIDIA KDE experience out of the box. Now, quick specs look like this. A Core i7-9750H 4.5 gigahertz turbo processor. Keep in mind, this is a laptop. A GTX 2060 GPU with 6 gigabytes of onboard RAM, 32 gigabytes of system RAM, 1 terabyte NVMe storage, and a 16.1 1080p Full HD IPS display with a matte finish. All this will come in for less than the price of a MacBook Pro, with the estimated sale price at about $2,400. Now let's get into the top stories that we're following this week in what the BBC says is their biggest test of machine-generated journalism so far. BBC News published a news story for every constituency that declared election results overnight, all written by a computer. Each of nearly 700 articles, most in English but 40 of them in Welsh, was checked by a human editor before publication. Now, the head of the project said that the tech was designed to enhance the service provided, not to replace human reporters. Robert Mackenzie, editor of BBC News Labs, says, "This is about doing journalism that we cannot do with human beings at the moment." Using machine assistance, they were able to generate a story for every single constituency that declared during last week's general election. Now, which they say would not have been even possible with human reporters. Several news organizations are testing automated journalism as a way of covering data-driven stories more efficiently. The technology can quickly produce stories focused on numbers, such as, say, football scores, company financial reports, and general election results, obviously. Now, Mr. Mackenzie said that the articles reflected a BBC style because the choice of phrases could in fact be programmed in advance by BBC writers. He said, quote, "As a journalist, you try to think of every conceivable permutation of a story in advance. Then you write a template. Now the machine selects particular phrases or particular words in response to precise pieces of data. So you can write everything, if you want to, in house style," he says. He goes on to clarify this clearly only works on stories that are grounded in data. It is not a technology that allows you to do any kind of analysis. How interesting is that? So it makes sense. I love that things can be aggregated and then put into language that we can understand and read, and it's been happening for years, but now it's actually happening in news source as well. And it's not really, I mean, you could say that, hey, this is some people may have an issue with automation, AI, writing the news. But this is data. This is like stuff that in the middle of the night, cryptocurrency numbers are changing, and so a report could be generated in something other than just a list of numbers. No, it can be put into language that we can understand and appreciate and read at our convenience. So I think it can be a really good thing, and I do appreciate that the BBC is saying that this is something that is meant to augment their current reporting. So it's not something that's going to put people out of work. No, it's something that's going to give them additional content that they don't have to actually sit down and write. They can just proofread it, make sure it's good, and then push the A-OK go. What do you think? Let us know your comments below. A Russian police raid on NGINX's Moscow office last Thursday has raised concerns among users of the popular web and proxy server software. Several employees, including chief developer Igor Siov, we'll just say Igor, and co-founder Maxim, I'm just going to leave it at that. They were interviewed by police over a criminal copyright infringement complaint. Now, get this, the raid arrived a week after Russian search engine and internet firm Rambler, who was the former employer of one of those aforementioned, they claimed full ownership of the NGINX code. In addition, Rambler Internet Holdings is requesting the equivalent of about $810,000 US. NGINX, a firm created in 2011 to provide support for users of the open source web server software of the same name, was bought by U.S. firm F5 Networks for $670 million back in March. NGINX was first released, as far as the software goes, in 2004. Around a third of the web's servers in the world use NGINX, often as a load balancer. Even if Rambler can prove their case against Nginx, F5 wants to calm fears about future support and product development by reminding its users that master software builds of its open source software are stored outside of Russia. How scary is that? So if what they're saying is true, so the claim is that this guy worked at Rambler, and while he was working there, presumably on company time, was developing Nginx, and so now they're saying, hey, that's our software. He was on company time. That's a scary thing. And what does that mean for the world of open source? Because Nginx is huge. In the top 3, like Apache's in there. I don't know who the number 2 is. Can't be IIS. That'd just be wrong. But we'll just say Nginx is in the top 3. Interesting thing about Rambler is that it seems like they are going after a lot of individuals and companies right now. I don't know if their legal department has changed or if they've just said, hey, let's look at ways to bring income out of other things. Like they're suing Twitch right now. So Twitch, the online gaming community that broadcasts video, used to be Justin.tv. Rambler is suing them because of users using the Twitch service to rebroadcast football games and things like that illegally. Well, Twitch says it's not really our fault. Like, we offer the platform. We have the policies in place that say you're not allowed to do that. If someone does, though, it's not like we have people policing it. If we knew about it, if you had have come to us, if Rambler had have come to us, we would have shut it down. So in as retroactive as this is to try to sue us over this, like they're actually trying to have Twitch blocked in Russia. Like, they're doing all kinds of stuff. And here, Nginx, one of the top 3 web server softwares in the world, and it's open source software, is under attack severely, rated, and who knows what's going to happen next. So we're going to keep eyes on that and find out over the course of the next couple of weeks what is going to be happening with Nginx. Now, we've got to take a really quick break. The Crypto Corner and more of this week's top tech stories are going to be coming right up, so don't go anywhere. All right, we're going to jump over to Robert here. He is, if I find the right button.
Welcome back to the Crypto Corner. This week has been brutal. Market cap went down from 200 billion to now around 175 billion. Bitcoin dropped around 10%. Other coins dropped 15, 16%. It's been hard. Some of you will be celebrating. Some of you will be sad. Those that are celebrating see the opportunity to buy more of their coins. And those that are sad are thinking of leaving this community. Now, what advice can I give you here? Because I've been through this here many times. And my advice is very simple, is when you form your opinion, just listen to a group of people. So don't listen to one single person, listen to a group of people and form your opinion that way. And why? Because this industry is not regulated. So it's an international market, and therefore there are many experts. Everybody can be an expert here. In the traditional industry, like stocks, for example, there are experts that only do, for example, forecasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a local thing, it's regulated, not the crypto industry. So be careful, take your decisions very carefully, and as I recommend, listen to a multitude of experts, not to only one person. So what else has happened this week? One thing, Mongolia, they are now implementing the possibility to purchase or to pay the taxi fare with a stablecoin, which is great. I mean, on an international basis, it's small, but it's great news for our industry. Then the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, started talking in a press conference about the future of cryptocurrencies within the ECB, and they're building a task force which goes in line with what Italy is doing and Sweden is doing, and Lithuania is issuing crypto collectibles. So all good news around that area. Something that I found interesting is also Ripple now has over 450 employees. So it's a substantial size, and I thought that was worth mentioning. And last but not least, in the case of Quadriga, the lawyers are now pushing towards physical evidence that the owner has passed away. So that's going to be interesting, and in this channel we're going to continue reporting about that. What's the subject of the week? Subject of the week is going to be mining. There is one website which is called whattomine.com, where you can calculate how much profit you're going to make if you select one or the other coin and you start mining that coin. I do recommend that you try to mine something. Just select any coin. Use your Raspberry Pi for this year. It's a great experience. You learn a lot about how a cryptocurrency or blockchain technology really works. And if you select it carefully, you also will make some money. Don't focus on the real big ones like Ethereum or Bitcoin, because from my point of view, that you don't have any chance, you don't learn a lot. Take those that are really small and that support, for example, a Raspberry Pi or a CPU, and you will learn a lot. So it's just because we're technology focused here, it's something that I do recommend. And that's from me. So I wish you a great week, and I'm looking forward to see you soon. Thank you for watching.
All right. Thank you, Robert. Just a reminder to our community that we're not giving financial advice here. We're just sharing what's happening in the cryptocurrency market. It's clear that Linux is ruling the world of supercomputers, as the latest from Top 500 reports that Linux is now the operating system of choice on all of the fastest 500 supercomputers in the world. Top 500 is an independent project that was launched in 1993 to benchmark supercomputers. It publishes the details of the top 500 fastest supercomputers known to them twice per year. On their website, you can filter the list based on various criteria, such as country, operating system, vendor, and so on. Now, 20 years back, most of the supercomputers in the world ran the closed-source Unix operating system. But eventually, Linux took the lead and became the preferred choice. Supercomputers are specific devices built for specific purposes. This requires a custom operating system optimized for those specific needs. So the fact that Linux is open source and easily modified to suit the individual supercomputer needs is likely why it's the only choice. Out of the top 10 fastest supercomputers in the world, USA has 5, China has 2, while Japan, Germany, and Switzerland have one each. No surprise. I feel like Windows used to be on that list. It totally makes sense, though, that open source is absolutely. I've never really given that much thought. But the fact that, say, Windows Server operating system is a closed-sourced OS, as is Mac OS, well, it makes sense that I would, as a developer, as a creator of a supercomputer, I'd want something that I can customize. And, of course, they're going for the fastest. They want the best speeds. And how do we get to be the fastest? Custom compiled software. It has to be compiled on that architecture, on that hardware. That's what's so cool about Linux. I mean, that's what's so appealing about, say, Gentoo or even Arch Linux in the world of Linux for power users, because you can compile the entire operating system on the specific hardware that you're going to be running it on. So you're going to get the absolutely optimal speed out of that system, presumably, because it's going to be compiled specifically for the architecture and hardware that you have. That's cool. 100%. 100%. Yes. In late January, the wife of cryptocurrency exchange founder testified that her husband inadvertently took at least $137 million of customer assets to the grave when he died without giving anyone the password to his encrypted laptop. Now, just a moment ago, we heard from Robert on the Crypto Corner about this, and we're just going to go into more details. Now, see, what's happened is that outraged investors want to exhume the founder's body to make sure that he's actually dead. So this is news all around. It's not just cryptocurrency news. This is a whole shift and a whole new way that it never even crossed my mind that this could be a scam. And now it's like, could it be a scam? Just to kind of remind us what happened. So back in February 2019, the wife of Jerry Cotton, the founder of Quadriga CX cryptocurrency exchange, submitted an affidavit stating that he died suddenly while vacationing in India at the age of just 30. The cause? Complications of Crohn's disease, a bowel condition that is in fact rarely fatal. At the time, Quadriga CX lost control of at least $137 million in its customer assets because it was stored on a laptop that, according to the widow's affidavit, only Cotton knew the password to. His widow, Jennifer Robertson, said that the laptop stored his cold wallet. Now, that's a digital wallet that's not connected to the internet. And it contained the digital currency belonging to customers of the exchange. According to Robertson, after attempts to guess his password, she went on to hire experts to attempt to decrypt the laptop, but they too failed. One expert even profiled Cotton in an attempt to hack the computer, but that attempt also came up with nothing. On Tuesday, the New York Times reported that the amount of the exchange clients the amount that they were unable to access is now, in fact, calculated to be $250 million. Meanwhile, law enforcement officials in both Canada, where Quadriga CX is located, and in the United States are investigating potential wrongdoing, and investors are clamoring for proof that Cotton is actually dead. Lawyers representing exchange clients on Friday asked Canadian law enforcement officials to exhume his body and conduct an autopsy to confirm both its identity and the cause of death. According to a report from an auditing firm hired by the Supreme Court of Nova Scotia, Quadriga CX has transferred, quote, significant volumes of cryptocurrency, unquote, into personal accounts held by Cotton on other exchanges. That sounds kind of damning. The report also documented that the transfer of substantial funds to Cotton personally that had no clear business justification. An autopsy is unlikely to lead to the recovery of the missing cryptocurrency, but it would go a long way to confirming or debunking the claims that Cotton died at the time and in the manner disclosed to Quadriga CX customers. As I said, I can't even fathom that this could be fraudulent. And I don't want to believe that. I mean, just like I'm sure the courts want to know that, yes, this was in fact what happened. I want to believe that it was an honest story. But I think what it raises is that cryptocurrency has opened this whole new method of somebody taking the money and running. And even if that's not the case here with Quadriga CX, it certainly is an eye-opener to think that, hey, this could in fact happen. Hollywood got to get a hold of this, folks, because this could make a heck of a great hacker movie, I gotta say. Hey, big thanks this week to Roy W. Nash, Johnny A. Solbu, and our community of viewers for submitting stories to us this week. Thank you for watching the Category5.tv newsroom. And don't forget to like and subscribe for all your tech news with a slight Linux bias. And if you appreciate what we do, become a patron at patreon.com/newsroom. From the Category5.tv newsroom and filling in for Sasha Rickman this week, I'm Robbie Ferguson. And that's all the time that I have with you this week, but it has been fantastic being here. And we are actually on a little bit of a vacation, if you will. Of course, Christmas is coming, and so is New Year, and both of those fall on Wednesdays. So our next live broadcast will be January 8th. So if you watch us live each and every week, hey, just keep in mind, we won't be here for 2 weeks, and that's in lieu of the holidays, and we appreciate all of you for being here. Thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to have a little bit of time off and spend some time with our family. We will be in the studio off and on, and checking in with patrons. So if you are a patron, make sure you watch our Patreon profile, patreon.com/category5. If you're not yet a patron, please consider that. It's a great way to support Category 5 Technology TV and everything that we do. It is, again, patreon.com/category5. And by doing that, you will be able to participate in anything that happens over the holidays, as we will be posting vlogs and behind-the-scenes videos as we do some things around here in preparation for what we believe is going to be a very powerful year for Category 5 Technology TV. Our very first show, January 8th, is going to be huge. You don't want to miss it. And a lot of preparations is going into it. So that's why that's part of why we do need some time away from the weekly broadcast as well, so that we can really hone in on the quality of that program. So I can't wait to see you January 8th. Hey, Merry Christmas to all of you, and a Happy New Year. All the best for 2020 and to good health, and we appreciate you being a part of our community. Thank you, everybody. And on behalf of everybody who's involved with Category 5 TV, I know it was a bit of a surprise that it was going to be just me flying solo this week, just due to weather here in Barrie, Ontario. But on behalf of our staff here at Category 5 TV, just want to thank you for being a part of the show in 2019. It's been a great year, and we are so excited about all that's to come. Thanks, everybody. Take care. All the best. Thanks, all. Oh, thanks, BP9. Thanks, Sash. Thanks, Baldric the Brave. And it's good to see you. It's a little different this week than you're used to, because I gave the team the night off because it is nasty out there. Should we check in on how it looks out there? I'm going to grab my teleprompter, a.k.a. smartphone. Let's grab that and see how things are looking. You guys want to see? Of course you do. Of course you do. Got to turn back on Wi-Fi. There we go. And let's jump outside. Oh my goodness. All right. So keep in mind, I mean, I've been here since 4:13, right, Sasha? I've been in the studio since 4:13 p.m. It's now 8:36, and my footprints should be in this photo. And that is apparently a road in among the white. I don't think they're keeping up with the plowing. I don't think they can. Yeah, thanks, Sash. I do have snow tires. I don't know how good that's... No, my van is yeah, that's like the tires are like there's a snowdrift up onto the side of the van. I do have a remote starter, so I'm looking forward to getting into a hopefully warm van. So, but that's why I gave the team the night off, because it was just too dangerous to come out. And you know what? I love these guys, and they're both like, "Oh, well, we can still come. We can still come." And I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? I got a van with winter tires, and I'm like trying to get up a hill, and everybody else is like sliding into ditches and fishtailing as they try to accelerate from a red light and stuff, and it's just like no." So I would not dare walk in this. It is brutal, and the wind is like, I don't know if you saw that clip at the beginning, but even my hood is just like blowing in the wind. That's it for the show, folks. I'm just hanging out for a few minutes. So if you're watching and thinking this is a weird show, I'm not doing a show now. The show's over. Show's over, folks. But Robbie's still here. I got some post-production to do. At least I only have 2 cameras, so makes the editing, I guess, a little bit easier considering. So I hope everything held up after our little hiccups at the beginning, everybody. I don't have 4-wheel drive, but it is a van, and it's got the snow tires. It handles pretty good. It has like anti-spinning technology. I don't know. It's a what do you call it? A caravan. So if you're accelerating too fast, it's like the opposite of ABS. If you're accelerating too fast, it will actually slow down the tires so they won't spin. And I switch it to manual as well. I don't have heated steering, but I do have gloves. I can't. I work full time, dude. No, I gotta do all my production. Although, thanks to our patrons, you know who you are. I don't have to do any video importing. I literally just push a button on the computer and I pull a card from the camera, and then I pull the drive from the Atomos Ninja Flame, and that's it. Like, I don't have to import anything. I can just actually plug it in and do the production live without importing. That's brilliant. Because it has USB 3.1 and then some. So just shutting off this camera. So in the B camera, I have an SD card, which I will just simply plug into the computer. And then I've got the Atomos Ninja Flame that I just pulled the hard drive from. It's an SSD. And then plug it directly into the computer. It has like a little dock. SATA. And then I've got ISO recording from my laptop. ISO from the camera. Both cameras. Cool. That's it. I'm done importing. That was easy. So are you guys as excited about this NAS unit idea, like this whole premise, as I am? Like, this is going to be a really cool project, and I love that we're going to be able to make it happen. I'm going to be doing some really cool stuff. Night, Baldrick. Cheers. I know a lot of you are going to be packing up, and I should too, but thank you for being here. Take care, everybody. Message me. I'll be in Discord over the next couple of days too. Yeah, I do post-production from home as well. I get it started here, though, and then I do the rest from home. Nothing about this is going to be proprietary, Ameridroid. Our NAS unit, if you will, I'm calling it my NAS just because that's going to be a good little short link. But it's all open source Linux stuff. I don't want to tell you too much, but I'm going to be doing some really cool stuff. Let's just say, imagine if you had a RAID 6 that you could fail 6 drives out of and not lose any data. Imagine if you could take that RAID 6 and have an intermix of 1 terabyte drives, 4 terabyte drives, 2 terabyte drives, and use the maximum capacity of each of those drives. So when you put in a 500 gig drive, it doesn't take your 1 terabyte and take it down to 500 gigs. No, you're able to use the full 1 terabyte. Hardware list is going to be at cat5.tv/mynas. It's coming. You guys are watching live, so it's not there yet. But yes, that will be posted. All right, folks. Well, thank you I will be in Discord off and on tonight. I'm going to move over to the production studio, though. Get off the set and get this thing rocking. So thank you, everybody. Take care.